the end of the day, executive functioning skills are the greatest predictor of success for human beings. You need executive functioning skills to move out of your parents' house, get a job, make friends, keep friends. It's every single parent's goal for your kid to have a better life than you did before them. For your kid to be okay, independent, positive, and successful when we're no longer around to help them or we're too fragile to help them. And that only happens with executive functions.
Raising 3 boys with very different brains has been one of the most challenging and most rewarding experiences of a lifetime. And what I find fascinating about parenting in general is everybody loves to categorize. They love to stereotype. They love to be like, oh, you should see what girls are like, or it's just ridiculous. In today's conversation, I interview Mike from Grow Now, ADHD, executive functioning, and I really enjoyed this conversation. And part of it was I've gotten to a point in my personal and professional life where just hearing the honest truth from a professional, not performative in nature, not, trying to give me some quick media PR bullshit of media training, as they call it, but just being honest. And I've been feeling this for a while, and now I'm really starting to see it come out, especially when I'm talking to experts who are working with children and parenting, is we have swung the pendulum so far as parents, especially women, that we are now over-parenting, over-nurturing, over-mothering. I see it in how you are running your teams. I see it how you are in your marriage. I see it how you are with your aging parents, your siblings, your friends. You're over-functioning. And over-functioning is a detriment to your children's mental and emotional well-being. Mike and I talk about this a little bit on today's episode, and I just sat there the whole time thinking, man, this gentleman is just giving me so much permission to lean in and do what I want to do with my kids. We recently just moved, and if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm in like a white room. I still don't feel put together in my office, but we're getting there. And I've been thinking about a lot lately around like grounded rituals and getting the boys back to quote unquote basics. Summer's coming and we will, or I don't know when this is coming out, might already be out. But I've been thinking about like, what are the projects that we're going to do around the house in the summer? How can I, what are my tech rules? Mike and I talk a lot about that on today's episode of technology, screen time with your kids. And he's just such a huge advocate of like, you're enabling an addiction in your kids. And sometimes that feels like a huge gut punch, but also for me personally, it's just very permission giving of like, yeah, you guys aren't going to like me and this is what it is. But here's what I've noticed. So I have 2 at home now. They're 13 and 16. 21-year-old is gone. And I do have this weird feeling in my gut around Logan, the oldest, 21. Number one, he grew up so different with technology. He actually has said to me now, I hated you when I was younger because you didn't, like, we never had a video game console in our house ever. We never had like PlayStation, nothing like that. I actually remember one time, one of his friends who was definitely wealthy gifted us, because we were like the quote unquote poor family compared to them. They were just giving us crap all the time or wanting to. And one time they were trying to give us a PlayStation 5. I was like, nope, it's not coming in our house. And I had such strict rules around screens. I had such strict rules around video games, and he hated it. He was so mad at me, and I didn't care. I truly did not care. I was like, whatever. And I don't know if it was the gap of what 20 years ago was, because, well, maybe not 20, maybe like 15 years, because he would have been like 5 or 6, 15, 10, even 10 years ago. I just didn't care. But I feel like there is a thing that we don't talk about, which is parental burnout. Like this absolute soul crushing bone fatigue that you have as a parent. You're like, okay, it's your first child. You're like, like this is new, whatever. But then you have another one and another one and another one. And you're like, I'm just so fatigued. Like I truly do feel like I've been beaten down with my first child, that the second and third, like Logan will even say like, oh my God, they get away with murder. And I'm like, sure, they could get away with murder, but is it that they're getting away with murder, or like has the culture changed? But also they're just different and they're quote unquote easier. And, you know, I'm a parent too. And I'm definitely not shaming or blaming myself for letting things slip. I don't think the brain is the same thing post 2020. I don't care what anyone says. Based on what I've observed with human behavior and children's behavior, but especially adult behavior, the brain is not the same. Like we all have some posts, like I guarantee you there may be studies out there. If we looked at brains, they're different. We will grow up differently. Our children will grow up differently because of what that period of time did to us. But I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to piss off my two kids that are home, the 13 and 16-year-old, because I do want to get back to this essence of being human. I don't know why it makes me emotional. I think because I can see them growing up and it happens so fast, especially when they become teenagers. I see their brains changing. I see them changing socially. I see their interests changing. But here's what I'm here to tell you. At the root of everything with your kids, they're human. They want connection. They want belonging. They want life skills. They're going to resist it. They're going to stay in their room. They're going to tell you they don't like it. That's okay. You don't need to be liked here. You're their guide. And in order for you to have the capacity to hold that resistance, you have to be well-resourced. Like you have to be out of a survival state. You have to have capacity. And which is why I talk a lot about energy management and teach it. Because if you don't have capacity, you're not going to be well-resourced with time, energy, and financial resource to be present for your kids, to hold these emotionally uncomfortable boundaries. And if you've been gifted a neurodivergent child, man, oh man, you almost need to 10x your resources because they challenge you. They challenge the poop out of you. So I'm here to tell you that based on the episode you were about to listen to, it got me thinking and it gave me permission to get back to the roots. I'm not going to rip the Band-Aid off and do it all at the same time, but we're going to have a family meeting and I'm going to be like, okay, what are the rules? What are we going to do here? I want my boys to connect. I've actually considered helping them create some type. I'm not helping them do jack shit. I'm going to encourage them and ask them, like, what do you want your summer project to be? I want them to get back to reading physical books. We got out of that habit and we're just going to talk. And I'm just going to be like, and they're not going to like any of it. And I don't give a shit. And then I'm going to write it down and we're going to come up with rituals together as a family. But here is what I also want to say. I can't do any of this if I don't have relationship skills. I can't do any of this if I don't have a foundational relationship with my kids. And for some of you, you're raising kids in a home where you are the parent that's leading and your co-parent or you are single has no interest in getting involved in this. And I'm telling you, my husband is on board, but I always have to lead. And sometimes I have to hold the boundaries with him too. And I just want you to know that I don't ever consider what he wants. And what I mean by that is I lead first. So I come up with the idea, I have the desire, and I bring it to him. I don't seek his approval. I don't seek his permission. I just say something needs to change. He usually has resistance, doesn't want to talk about it, but he does the same thing for me for other things. And if I was single, I would just be like, this is my home. While you're at my house, this is what we're going to do. But let's figure it out together. So the reason why I'm telling you this is just use communication skills to co-create with your kids. It's not I said this is what's going to happen. It's have conversations and understand that these conversations may not just be one convo. You might have to have this convo for a week or two to get their attention. I think we've lost the art of communicating with our kids as humans and trusting that you are the adults. There has to be natural consequence. So anyways, that's my piece. And if you are interested in joining us for the magic of being emotionally uncomfortable, then I highly, highly suggest you check out, just go check out my resources. I got free, I got paid, we got workshops coming up. Where can you find these? Well, all the links in my bio are updated on Instagram. So if you go to find me on Instagram at Heather Chauvin, Chauvin, all those links are updated at the link in my bio, my website, heatherchauvin.com. But yeah, let's dive into Mike's podcast. I really enjoyed this episode. He was refreshing. He's got a podcast, website, book. You'll hear about it all at the end of the episode. So let's dive in. Let's raise some amazing neurodivergent kids and honestly, just good humans. Because regardless of your brain, we live in such a time where I'm just like, I'm excited. We got to get back to human skills and brain health. And, we're in a comfort crisis. So let's be emotionally uncomfortable. Hello, Mike. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. This is such a privilege. I love everything you're doing with this podcast and everything, and to be here with you is really cool.
I know that there's a lot of listeners who are really excited for this episode. ADHD, neurodiversity seems to be a trendy term, and a lot of parents are wondering, am I neurodivergent? Is this a trend? Is there something going on? And just to give you a quick background, I'm raising 3 boys. They're currently 21, 16, and 13. And I can say in my 21 years career as a parent, I can see how things have changed in 20 years of like who my oldest was and those conversations that we were having in the pediatrician office or with the teachers in the school to now with the youngest in the educational system and all of that. So can you talk a little bit about the history per se? Not so much, we don't have to go into the nitty gritty of the history, but what, maybe trends or what you're seeing over the last 10 to 20 years or so, or why it seems to be more of a term people are using?
Yeah. So, overall, you can really make a pretty strong argument that there's really never been a harder time to be a parent than now. And so many of that is because of just pure information overload. How many parents now can't pick up their phones without getting yelled at by another parenting guru and parenting influencer, and this whole concept of the perfect parent, which we all know does not exist. So constant strategies thrown at you, constant diagnostic labels. Some of them aren't even real diagnostic labels. They're just social media trends. They're not in the diagnostic standards manual, the DSM. So it's just so many things, just labeling every behavior, every emotion. And sometimes we're forgetting, what kids are like, what neurotypical kids are like, and what behaviors are normal for young kids and young boys. And there's a lot of great individuals now that constantly just talk about, hey, your kid is normal, your kid is okay. Parenting is supposed to be hard. These behaviors are supposed to be there. But of course, there is neurodiversity overall. And ADHD is very real. It is hereditary. You are born with it. But like I said earlier, in terms of parenting right now, a lot of this is due to the excessive screen use. Screens are an addictive tool. A lot of adults are addicted and they're on it all the time, and it's known to fragment your attention and create temporary ADHD symptoms. And brain rot is a real thing. Digital dementia is a real thing. So many adults now are feeling like their attention is being affected, their emotions, the mental load is something you hear about a lot, especially for moms, how difficult it is being a parent in today's day and age. And a lot of it is due to these huge $1 trillion companies realized we are going to make the majority of our money on kids, especially neurodiverse kids. This is the attention economy where things are free to download and they make their money based on how much time you spent on the app or on that website or on that game. Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft, YouTube, Snapchat, all free to download. They just make our money based on how much they're on it. And they realize that kids are going to be their biggest moneymaker, and especially ADHD kids that go hand in hand with screen addiction and hand in hand with the inability to regulate their screen use. So that's a really, really difficult thing where screens are creating some temporary ADHD symptoms. Screens are creating further dysregulation. And at the end of the day, these predatory big tech companies, because screens have taken over kids' lives, both at home and at school now, the things that are so crucial to childhood, which is outdoor, unsupervised, unstructured play, boredom. Boredom is like going to the gym for your brain. It's so important. And struggle, kids struggling and feeling with big emotions and being able to process it on their own without someone coming to save them. So boredom, play, and struggle is crucial to brain development and childhood experiences. All of the things that are so crucial to developing a strong, healthy child and adolescent brain, we as the adults have kind of stolen from them. And this is why we're in the middle of this horrible youth mental health crisis. And you can also make an argument we're also in a parenting crisis.
Yeah. Like, where to start? There was so much that you said in there around, I've noticed, I'm curious your thoughts around what you have witnessed in the brain or in behavior post-COVID.
So COVID really normalized a lot of the excessive screen use. All of these things were happening years before COVID. I started Grown Out ADHD in 2015, years before COVID. And even back then, I was noticing the negative effects of Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft, social media, cell phone use, YouTube, Chromebooks at school, really, really negatively impacting these kids and parents and families. With COVID, kids were stuck in the house. Outdoor play was very hard. Getting kids together face to face was very hard. The social distancing was very hard. So it normalized a lot of the screen use. And in so many ways, we've sort of been stuck in that rut of treating things like COVID never ended. One-to-one laptops and one-to-one devices in schools really became normalized after COVID. And big tech made a lot of money off of our schools. And they continue to do it and push all these different gamified curriculums on kids, which have been an absolutely unmitigated disaster in every way, shape, or form. Ed tech and one-to-one personal devices in school are pretty much the worst thing to ever happen to education in the history of education. For the first time in history, we have an entire generation of youth that is doing worse than the generation before them in test scores, well-being, mental health, self-worth. And that's the first time that's ever happened. Human beings have always advanced and always developed. And now we have the first generation that's not advancing, not developing, because they're not having real world experiences. They're not having real world relationships. They're not having play, boredom, and struggle. And they're growing up in the virtual world. And at the end of the day, executive functioning skills are the greatest predictor of success for human beings. You need executive functioning skills to move out of your parents' house, get a job, keep a job, make friends, keep friends. It's every single parent's goal for your kid to have a better life than you did before them, for your kid to be okay, independent, positive, and successful when we're no longer around to help them or we're too fragile to help them. And that only happens with executive functions, not grades, not GPA, not test scores, not SAT scores, not your college degree. It's executive functioning skills. And we need those skills. And the only way to build executive functions is through relationships and experiences, not worksheets, not lectures, not in the classroom. It is at doing as many different things as possible and meeting as many different things as possible. And kids today simply aren't doing that.
Okay. I'm getting super excited. Number one, people may not know what executive functioning skills are. So we'll talk about that. I remember bringing my kids to a tutor once, and she told me, you have to be the executive functioning for your kids. And I gave her pushback because I was like, yes, and I cannot take on this part of my child's brain for the rest of their life. And I find it incredibly challenging, and yet I teach these skills to parents that you have to believe that your child is capable of something. You have to challenge them in their abilities and not just say, oh, they have this, or oh, they can't do that.
Yep.
And I think that's the pushback we're experiencing now. And we're recording this pre-summer, when people start to get this summer anxiety of like, I need to be this performative like entertainer for my children, or they're just going to be on devices the whole time. So maybe can we talk a little bit about like what executive functioning skills are and the practical maybe applications of what we can do as parents, educators, and guides for these kids?
Absolutely. I agree with every single thing you just said. So executive functioning skills, like I said, are the greatest predictor of success for human beings. And it's one of the most misunderstood set of skills. You ask most people what's executive functions, they're going to say time management and organization, which is the smallest possible fraction of what executive functions is. People still think that it's messy backpacks, messy folders, messy lockers, messy bedrooms. That's ridiculous. Those things are not massive predictors of success. There's tons of very successful independent people with messy backpacks, messy folders, and messy rooms. So that's not it. Executive functioning skills, I break them down into 4 pillars. So number 1 is self-awareness, which is the number one, the first executive skill to develop when you're a young baby and you realize, hey, wait a second, I have a control over my world. When I cry, mom comes and helps me out. When I smile in mom and dad's face, they smile back. And you start to become self-aware and realize I can do things that affect others and I can do things that affect me. So it's the first executive skill to develop, but over time becomes one of the most delayed. And we see that in middle school, where the lack of self-awareness can really affect the kids socially, and their ability to make friends and keep friends. The real heartbreak of ADHD and executive dysfunction is the social issues that these kids experience. Kids that are incredibly socially motivated, but just can't make a friend and keep a friend because they're either mentally rigid or don't have those social executive functioning skills. And, being aware that you're making mistakes, being aware that the things that you do impact others and impact yourself. So self-awareness, number 1. Number 2 is the big one, self-regulation, which is the ability to regulate your emotions, your language, your body, your behavior in various environments towards various stimuli. And that's what it's all about. If you're a parent listening to this podcast, chances are you tune into these kinds of things because you deal with constant dysregulation in the home. So ADHD is not an attention disorder. It is an executive functioning disorder. And it truly is. It's not attention deficit. It's self-regulation deficit. It's not hyperactivity. It's the inability to regulate your body. It's not inattentiveness. It's the inability to regulate your mind and your thoughts and your ideas. So it's all about self-regulation. So an inability to manage your emotions. It's all about emotion management. Number 2 is self-motivation towards non-preferred tasks. So anything outside of your comfort zone. So for most kids and teens today, it's anything that's not screen-based, anything that's not instant gratification-based, anything that's not conflict-based. So all of those different things, anything that's new, different, hard, challenging, to motivate yourself to do something that does not offer instant gratification. Then the 4th pillar is self-evaluation and the ability to learn from past experiences and apply it to the present so you don't repeat the same mistake every single day. Like ADHD kids have difficulty with a morning routine instead of just in September, like most kids, all throughout the entire year to the last day of school, still a rough morning routine. They're not learning from past experiences. So it's all of those skills together that truly make an individual independent, positive, and successful. So executive functions is all about I can do things on my own. I can deal with life's problems, obstacles, challenges. I can deal with the things that come my way. I can get ready in the morning on my own. I can get my schoolwork done on my own. I can go to bed at night at my own. I can make friends, keep friends, go outside and play and figure out what to do. I can be independent. I can notice and do and figure things out without someone acting as my executive functions. So that advice you were given from that tutor, not very good advice. And it's also not telling the whole story where, sure, you may have to be your kid's executive functioning system, but it has to fade back as quickly as possible. And the second part of what you were talking about is parents go on Instagram, social media, whatever, and what parents don't realize is the majority of things you see on Instagram is shared for likes and follows and all of those different things. And what's the best way to do that is to speak to parents' hearts. So that creates the rise of pseudoscience. All of this low demand parenting, gentle parenting, deal with them with kids' gloves. Your kids have ADHD. We have to constantly accommodate them and do these things. That's nonsense. And that's what's fueled this youth mental health crisis. This generation of youth has gotten the most therapy, the most counseling, the most socio-emotional classes, and they're the most depressed because we are treating them with kids' gloves and we are constantly lowering the bar. Even for ADHD kids need you to raise the bar. That's why they're doing better at school than they are at home, because they respond better to structure and condition as opposed to unstructure, unconditional. They need us to raise the bar. This low demand parenting has been a disaster.
Yeah. One of the number one challenges that I see, because I primarily work with women, is this fear of being judged and by other people or culture. And I'm like, but what does your gut tell you? Like, what is the internal knowing? And it's listening to the truth within you. Like, I know I need to do less, but allowing guilt or shame or fear of whatever running how you are parenting and just consciously unliving. Like, I get it. Screens are everywhere. I'm working in the home. So it's like I have to have those boundaries. I have to like redirect. But even like thinking lately around rituals, I've been thinking a lot. Like we just moved. We're trying to get grounded again. And I'm like, okay, what are those rituals? What are those pockets? What are the structures? What's the organization? I have to consciously think about it. I have to create a plan. I have to implement the plan. And it's not going to be a one-off thing. I'm going to have to keep repeating myself over and over and over again, or put up like lists or markers or something to be like, this is it. This is how we show up as a family in the home. But I have to consciously create that and like push against this current constantly around resistance. And what I'm observing is just the cultural narrative. I'm curious your thoughts on, you were talking about friendships, and I know there's, having a hard time with friendships, but one with this culture of like independence, kids being overscheduled that they don't even have time to play now unless they're in organized sports. So it's like, how do we get our kids involved in things or just be bored, by themselves because other people don't have time to play?
Yeah, so unstructured outdoor play is by far the most important thing for kids. There's a reason why we've seen so much school refusal, hearing kids say, I hate school attendance being a big difficulty, homeschool increasing, because we've now made preschool and kindergarten what second and third grade was 10, 15 years ago, making it too academic and decreasing play and recess being eliminated and things like that. There's nothing more important for movement and play. It's exercise for the brain, growing the brain. So yes, typically nowadays we see kids that are probably under-scheduled. That's the majority of kids, where the majority of their lives are they wake up, they go to school, they come home, they stay home. And the vast majority of their adolescence is the walls of the school, the walls of the home. And that's really bad. That really harms their development because all they know is being a student at school and being a child at home. And there's no third place. There's no extra identity of I'm a musician, I'm an artist, I'm an athlete, I'm doing imaginary play, I'm this person's friend, that person's friend. It's just those two environments and that's it. Kids need a third place, a fourth place, a fifth place to build an identity away from being a student and away from being a son or a daughter. That's very important. Then the flip side of that, depending on the family's resources, where they live, all these different things, a child may be overscheduled. So, number one, we want to look at exactly what are they overscheduled in. If you're one of those parents that are getting your kids in all of these extra tutoring and Kumon and all of these different ways to kind of just build up. If you have them doing extra academics outside of school, you need to hit the pause button on that. Relax. Let school be school. Let home be home. And keep those things completely separate. Your child's going to do a lot better at school if you eliminate screens and increase play. Kids do better at school when they move and they play and they explore and they get to self-regulate with their bodies and be bored and things like that. So this whole idea that they need extra tutoring, extra work, extra things outside of school really has no benefit until the later high school years, before they start preparing for college and things like that. If they're overscheduled in sports and clubs and activities, we have to look at, how play-based is it? How insanely competitive is it? Those kinds of things. And is there time for them to play, be themselves, and be bored outside of those overscheduled club sports and activities? Or are you just saying to yourself, oh, they work so hard in their clubs and sports, so when they're at home, I give them the screens, I give them the phone, I give them the games. If that's it, if that's their entire lives, going to school, being an athlete, being overscheduled, then just being on the internet all the time, that's going to be very harmful to their brain. So make sure your child has free time that is completely non-internet based.
What do you suggest to parents who have a hard time holding a screen boundary?
If you're having a hard time holding a screen boundary, then your child is telling you with their behaviors, I'm not ready for this. It's literally as simple as that. No child is going to come to their parent and say, hey, I'm not ready for this phone. Can you please go return it? Can you please go return this iPad? When you go onto social media, you're going to hear a lot about all behavior is communication. But we only want to believe that when it's warm and fuzzy, like, oh, that's a connection-seeking behavior. He just needs more of me. He needs more hugs and kisses and me to get on his level. But if all behavior is communication, the lack of that screen boundary is communication that my brain can't handle this level of stimulation. You gave me too many screens too soon. This Wi-Fi, this internet, this phone, this video game, this YouTube is only in my life because you provided it for me. I don't have a job. I don't have incomes. I don't have money. I didn't buy these things. You gave me these things, and my brain can't handle it. So if you can't handle a screen boundary, really the only option you have is to eliminate those screens. This whole concept of, oh, can't he just be taught the skills to balance the screens? Can't he be taught can't someone teach him something so he can have a little bit of screens and still be okay? It's not going to happen. That's a pipe dream. There's no research to show that that's going to work. A gambling addict can't go to the casino sometimes. An alcoholic can't have alcohol sometimes. They're children. We have to start looking at smartphones and the internet just like we look at, gambling and alcohol and driving and voting, where you have to be a certain age when your brain is ready for it. So if that screen boundary isn't working, you need to step in and do something about it. And you need to ask yourself, can I, as a parent, deal with 2 to 3 weeks of withdrawal behavior for them to withdraw from that screen? Because it is a drug. They're going to withdraw. They're going to act crazy when you remove that screen. Can I persevere through 2 to 3 weeks of withdrawals and save my child's brain for the long term? Can I deal with this for 2 to 3 weeks, or do I want to deal with it for the next 10 years?
Yeah. I think part of it, as you're talking right now, you are giving me permission. I'm not triggered. You're giving me permission. And I know for a lot of people, it may be incredibly triggering for them to be like, oh my goodness.
It's terrifying. I have never once ever approached a parent and said, you need to eliminate screens, and their face not turn ghost white with fear. because
Yeah.
that's what we're dealing with now. Because like I said in the beginning of this podcast, this is the hardest time in history to be a parent, because trillion-dollar companies created a material product that is an addictive drug to children. And it was sold to parents as this social tool. Give them, and this will help open up their social lives, and this will help them connect and be social and be ready for the tech-filled world, and you'll be able to track them and keep them safe, and this will make them safe, smart, and social. We now have over a decade of data that tells us that actually none of that was true. That was all propaganda. Screens don't make kids safe, smart, and social. It makes them depressed, dormant, dependent, and antisocial. So we were sold a bag of lies, and now our kids are fully addicted. And the idea of having to remove those addictive drugs is terrifying.
Yeah. And having to, that goes down like an addict conversation
Oh,
around
yeah.
people. It's like, would you give cocaine to your child? And they're going to be like, absolutely not. And it's like, well, we have to see that this can be aligned with that.
Absolutely, 100%. And that's the behaviors that they're showing. This is the kids' brains were never meant to have a supercomputer in their pocket at all times. They were never kids' brains shouldn't be able to escape boredom, escape struggle, escape awkwardness by just pulling out a phone and surfing the web and being able to just these short form videos thrown at them, these notifications, these likes, all these different things. It's really, really harming their brains. And we're seeing it now with the first generation of youth that grew up with smartphones. They're completely unemployable. They're having their mom talk to the hiring manager. They're bringing their moms with them to job interviews. And we're seeing a very large increase in the failure to launch category.
Mm-hmm. I have a lot of clients in the failure to launch category, and many, many conversations around you have to do so much less than a parent. Yep. And you have to sit with your emotional discomfort. You are a guide for your child, and you can hold the guardrails, but you can't go in and keep rescuing. And I also see this culture where parents are so much more financially I don't want to say responsible for their children per se, but just funding these lifestyles. And I'm like, they live a better lifestyle than you do. And you keep asking your child, go do this, go do this, go do this. And they're like, yeah. Because they know you're going to bail them out. They know you're going to enable them, and you're going to financially take care of them. Like for me, our oldest son is 21. He moved out. And the emotional discomfort that I have as a mother when he makes enough money to pay his own bills and to know that Uber Eats is way easier than going to the grocery store. And I have to hold that. And we have budgeting conversations. We have money conversations that he does not want to have. And we're doing it together. But holding that and knowing that he might not like it now, but he may like it one day, takes a lot of energy and discernment and I have to think about the future a lot of like, who does he need me to be for him? Not, I don't need to be liked right now. I don't need to yell and scream, but we can do this in a different way.
That's exactly it. And the rise of phones have given us all a little bit of ADHD symptoms and had made us all hardwired towards instant gratification, where so many parents now are just parenting to get to the end of the day. And we forget that parenting is the long-term battle. What can I do today that sets them up for success later? The ultimate truth, the ultimate fact of all parenting is eventually we're not going to be there to take care of them. And we need them to be able to pay the bills, finance themselves, get a job, keep a job, and be successful in this world of AI and all these things that are happening out there. So the days are long, the years are short, and we have to be very, very clear that no, you are not meant to be your child's best friend. You are not there to bail you out. And if your kid is pushing back on your boundaries, if your kid is coming to you and saying, I'm bored, if your kid is constantly complaining about things, then chances are you're probably doing something right. You're hearing the opposite on social media, that kids need to, be, so comfortable all the time, unless or else they'll be traumatized or anxious. If they're being pushed and uncomfortable, and your house doesn't look like a casino with screens everywhere, you're doing something right. So we have to think about, let's build these skills now from birth to 18. So when they do go away to college, when they do get a job, we can have that internal comfort that they're going to be successful because we were not unintentionally helicopter permissive parents that saved them from struggle for 18 years.
Oh, man. Okay. I could talk to you forever and ever.
Oh,
this
yeah.
is so juicy, and I know people are going to want to get more information. Tell us about your book, your podcast, all the things where people can find more of you, because this, I mean, this conversation alone has just continued to give me permission to just lean into what I know to be true. It's
That's right.
it's emotionally uncomfortable, but if we want to feel alive and aligned and connected to our kids, and it's not even just about children. Your children are going to grow. They're going to have children. They're going to have families. They're going out into the world. If you can like plant these seeds and nurture them, it's not just for the immediate day. It's also their future and what is going to happen. And I know it's emotionally uncomfortable, but what's the alternative?
That's
We
exactly
have
it.
to lean in. So,
Yeah.
yeah, Mike, any last words of wisdom, but also where people can find more of you?
Yeah, so I love how you tied it all back to being emotionally uncomfortable. And that's really what it is. All of us have to look back on our lives and the families that we've created, the careers we've created, the lives we've created, and look back on what you had to do to create those things. Did you gain any of the success you currently have from being comfortable, from constantly having an adult help you out or another person help you out? No, one fact about human life is success comes from outside of the comfort zone. So when you're comfortable, you're not achieving anything. You're not growing. You're not changing. And we've created a world in today's world where kids live 24 hours a day, 365 in their comfort zones because either they're on screens in the virtual world getting a massive dopamine rush, or they're coming to us for conflict and we're giving it to them, or we're saving them from other people holding them accountable. So being emotionally uncomfortable now brings success later. So being emotionally uncomfortable now is a temporary thing that sets you up for future success and goals. No goals are achieved unless you are emotionally uncomfortable. So I love how
I
you tied
know.
it back to that. So that's really good
I
stuff.
know.
Yeah, yeah. So
It sucks, but I always say emotionally uncomfortable, which is why I named the podcast that, is because it is actually incredibly emotionally uncomfortable to also feel good, to be healthy, to go against cultural norms, to be on the other side of that. But yes, all muscle, all growth is resistance training, and we need to lean into that. So, your book, your podcast, all the things.
absolutely. So everyone can find me at my website, grownowADHD.com. You can learn more about our executive functioning coaching, our internal skills training for students of all ages, as well as our fully personalized parent training that we provide to parents all across the country, all around the world. My podcast is the ADHD Parenting Podcast, all evidence-based, science-based parenting strategies, very practical, none of that fluffy, feel-good stuff you'll find on social media. And you can get my book everywhere, The Executive Functioning Playbook, which is a parenting and teacher playbook. You can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Goodreads, everywhere. So you can definitely check that out as well if you want to, get some ADHD hope, some executive functioning hope, and feel empowered as a parent.
I love it. I love your, I can tell you do not like social media and you're not a fan of the quick fixes. This is why I love podcasting, the intimate, long form content, getting people thinking. And I often find too, people who listen to podcasts are very different than people who are just scrolling on the internet. And I tell people that all the time. I'm like, who do you want to attract? Do you want to attract people who are like interested in actively growing, or they're just trying to get a quick hit and entertain themselves? I'm like, the real conversations happen in long form discussions, getting you to think differently, getting you to act differently, to show up differently in the world. And Yes, we are living in a time where we have to push back in order to find ourselves. And if anything, I just did a podcast on the soft skills or the new hard skills,
Oh
and
yeah.
how we just need to be more of ourselves, like our true, authentic selves, like more human in modern culture than ever before, because those, again, are incredibly uncomfortable to flex those muscles of just being a damn human on a daily basis.
Yeah, and you're never going to get any of that authenticity on social media. It's nothing but fakeness and
Yeah.
people doing things for clout and for likes and follows and nonsense. It's the worst version of the human experience. It's exactly you see how people act on there. People act like animals on social media. As soon as someone has a different opinion of you, they're going to attack you because it's typing, because it's the internet. It's not face to face, and we're in an era now where we just spread so much hate and so much disagreements. We're giving everyone a platform to share their opinion on every single thing, whether they're qualified or educated or not. And we're seeing massive, racism and anti-Semitism and everything. It's just horrible. Like every phobia possible against different groups of people and races and religions. It's just it's really destroyed the human experience and people getting to know each other on a personal level. And you doing what you're doing with Emotionally Uncomfortable and this podcast, I agree with every single thing you said today about bringing back authenticity and challenging yourself and learning how to be emotionally uncomfortable is a crucial human skill in today's world.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mike. I'm so excited for number one, this conversation to come out, and number two, for everyone to go follow you. So thank you.
Thank you so much.